I don't know. I don't know when these people are going to learn their lesson. It's right there in your face. It's right there in your face. It's clear to us the WNBA does not appreciate fans, don't want us there. We have been thrown out of games for a multitude of ridiculous things. We have watched these players complain and trash us all. They called half of us racist. They've called all types of stuff. All types of stuff. Now, without Caitlin Clark, the viewership has been cut in half by 50%.
The Atlanta Dream thought they could rewrite the story of the WNBA playoffs. On national television, Alicia Gray pointed into the stands at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, accusing a Fever fan of crossing the line.
Well, let's do a follow-up to Alyssa Gray getting a Fever fan kicked out of the arena. By the way, said Fever fan, it was a guy and his wife there to enjoy a nice sporting event. Now, I've got a theory that these WNBA players that's played in this league for a while, number one, we know it to be so. They're not used to actual sports fans. I believe they're used to their fans that used to come to these games before they slowly are getting eased out the door by actual sports fans. They're used to these being social events, all right? And so they're not there. They're not actually basketball fans. They're just activists.
Security rushed over, fans were escorted out, and for a moment it looked like Indiana's magical playoff run had been hijacked by controversy. But here's the truth. That story collapsed almost instantly. Eyewitnesses revealed the so-called offense was nothing more than a harmless cheer. The fans were allowed back in, the Dream's version of events didn't hold up, and social media torched Atlanta for lying.
She got a fan kicked out last night against the Indiana Fever, only for the fan to speak their piece to the security. Security found out, oh, you didn't say anything at all, actually. Yeah, come back to your seat. Let me just wipe that seat off for you. Here, please, have a seat, ma'am.
While the Dream scrambled to control the narrative, the Indiana Fever let their play do the talking. Because just days later, Indiana didn't just silence the Dream's accusations. They silenced their season. With Caitlin Clark out, with Sophie Cunningham sidelined, with their roster battered, the Fever still pulled off an 87-85 thriller in Atlanta. Aaliyah Boston's game-winning layup with 7 seconds left didn't just end the series, it ended the excuses.
Into Boston for the lead, she hits it! Indiana goes up!
When Alicia Gray singled out that Fever fan, it was supposed to send a message. The implication was clear: disrespect Atlanta's star and you'd be thrown out. But instead of rallying support, it blew up in the Dream's face. Eyewitness accounts spread fast. The so-called heckle was actually encouragement for Lexi Hull. "You're good, Lex. She's not even trying anymore." That's what set Gray off. No slurs, no threats, just standard playoff chatter.
I'm gonna go ahead and read it out loud. Basically, this anonymous individual was sitting close to the incident and ended up giving up everything that was said. So let's go ahead and see what this individual typed. They said the guy in the black hat yelled to Lexi Hull, who was running to guard Gray, and said, "You're good, Lex. She's not even trying anymore." Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. Gray lost her S and said some very nasty words to the guy and the people next to him. The guy did not say anything out of line whatsoever. They were let back shortly after. When asked what happened, they said it was protocol to remove the fan to allow the player to calm down. Really? Gray had a bad night, and there is no excuse for the things she said or the way she acted. Oh, man.
Security even apologized and escorted the fans back to their seats. The narrative cracked right there. If the comment had been serious, those fans never returned. And as the story unraveled, the spotlight shifted. Clips of the incident went viral. Commentators questioned why a playoff team was more focused on policing fans than winning games.
You said something mean to me. You said something mean. You said I couldn't make... And then Alicia Gray goes straight to Ryan Howard. "Alicia, it's okay. It's okay, Alicia. Don't worry about it." I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't last more than 5 minutes in one of these WNBA arenas. I gotta be honest. I would not last long at all in one of these WNBA arenas. They would hate me. They as soon as tip off, get him out of here. Get him out of here. He said I can't jump. Get him out of here. He said I can't dribble. Get him out of here. I'm sorry. Alicia Gray getting this fan kicked out, and of course, the internet went ablaze.
By the next morning, it wasn't the Fever's supporters under fire. It was the Dream's professionalism. Meanwhile, Indiana kept building momentum. Game 3 in Atlanta was win or go home. Caitlin Clark was out for the season. Sophie Cunningham was sidelined. Depth was an issue. On paper, Indiana should have folded. Instead, they played like a team with nothing to lose. From the opening tip, the Fever sent a message. Kelsey Mitchell carried the offense, attacking off the dribble, burying threes, and keeping Indiana alive whenever Atlanta tried to pull away.
2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
She finished with 24 points, fearless, efficient, and locked in when it mattered most. Aaliyah Boston set the tone inside. Every possession she carved out space, grabbed rebounds, and battled against Atlanta's bigs. She didn't just put up numbers, she kept Indiana steady in the most hostile environment they'd faced all season. 14 points, 12 rebounds, and as we'd soon see, the most important basket of the Fever's decade. But what truly separated Indiana was their role players. Natasha Howard turned in a gritty two-way performance, disrupting the Dream's offense while scoring in the paint.
Tripples behind the line to take the 3. Howard with the one-handed rebound and putback.
Oh my goodness. I mean, watch this rebound come off under your screen. Jordan Canada's arm.
Lexi Hull knocked down shots and dove for every loose ball.
That ball screen has worked for Kelsey Mitchell, but that time she gives it up to Hull. And how about that shot by Lexi Hull?
Odyssey Sims orchestrated the pace, setting up teammates and delivering clutch assists.
And now Sims gets it over to Howard, challenged by Hillman, even though she has the 3 fouls.
Third quarter, the Indiana Fever have come out with an edge. Here, Atlanta turns it over. Odyssey Sims take it over. Pass to Howard for the bucket.
And even from the bench, the energy was relentless. Every defensive stand, every hustle play, the Fever bench erupted like they were playing too.
Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Ariel Powers.
Atlanta, by contrast, looked distracted. Yes, they traded buckets. Yes, Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray had moments. But when the game tightened, their composure cracked. They couldn't shake the cloud of controversy. They couldn't match Indiana's urgency. And then came the finish. With less than 10 seconds left, tied at 85, the Fever had one chance. Odyssey Sims fed the ball inside to Aaliyah Boston. The rookie-turned-franchise cornerstone powered through contact and banked in the game winner with 7.4 seconds left.
Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones.
The arena went silent. On the Fever bench, chaos. Players leapt from their seats. Caitlin Clark, sidelined in street clothes, pumped her fists and screamed with the rest of the team. Sophie Cunningham, also injured, joined the celebration. Atlanta still had a final possession, but Indiana's defense swarmed, forced a tough shot, and secured the rebound as the buzzer sounded. Final score, Fever 87, Dream 85. It wasn't just a win, it was history. For the first time since 2015, the Indiana Fever advanced in the WNBA playoffs. The team stripped of its superstar, written off as too young, too inexperienced, and too undermanned, had just proven everyone wrong. And what about Atlanta? Their season ended with embarrassment. They weren't remembered for their play. They were remembered for ejecting fans and losing composure. In the end, the scoreboard told the only story that mattered. The final buzzer told the truth. Fever 87, Dream 85. Aaliyah Boston stood at center court, surrounded by teammates who refused to let injuries, doubt, or distraction end their season. Kelsey Mitchell, who carried the offense all night, embraced her coach as the crowd of stunned Dream fans looked on. And in the stands, Indiana supporters, the same ones targeted days earlier, screamed louder than ever.
Fever dog! Bow, bow, bow! Let's go! Fever! Go Fever!
Let's go, Fever! Fever in 3!
Think about the symbolism. The Atlanta Dream tried to paint Fever fans as a problem, yet those very fans were the heartbeat of Indiana's run. They never backed down. And in the end, it was the Dream's credibility that collapsed, not Indiana's. For the Fever, this wasn't just a playoff win. It was a statement. Their first postseason series victory since 2015. Their proof that even without Caitlin Clark, even without Sophie Cunningham, they could fight, claw, and close out a thriller on the road. For Atlanta, the narrative is harsher. A season overshadowed by a single lie, capped off by a crushing defeat. Instead of a story about resilience, their legacy of this series is distraction. So here's the question. Is this the moment the Fever announce themselves as true contenders? Or will the weight of history catch up to them in the next round? One thing is certain, the scoreboard never lies. If you're still watching, drop Fever Playoff in the comments to let everyone know you believe in this Fever team. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we cover every twist in this unforgettable playoff run.
Looks like the Indiana Fever will lose their first playoff game. Guys, we got to talk about this one. What an ugly game, bro. I mean, my goodness. The WNBA referees has made it clear they hate the Indiana Fever. I mean, they hate everything they stand for. They hate to even see their name come across the screen that they even got to ref their games. It's apparent now. There is a clear agenda against the Indiana Fever, and if you do not feel that way or see it, you're a blind man.
Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever were just robbed, and not by their opponents. In Game 1 of the playoffs against the Atlanta Dream, fans witnessed one of the most frustrating officiating performances in recent WNBA history.
I'm tight, man. I'm tight. Indiana Fever got screwed over by the referees today, man. Straight up and down. Straight up and down, bro. I'm not even joking, bro. It's not even funny, bro. The WNBA refs are complete trash. This was trash to the point where Caitlin Clark has to hold back Stephanie White. Who had that on their bingo card for the day? Who had that on their bingo card? This was an embarrassing job of officiating by the WNBA referees. Kathy Engelbert, you are a pure joke.
Head coach Stephanie White couldn't hold back, erupting on the sidelines and even taking a technical foul for saying what every fan at home was already thinking.
So nobody involved with the Indiana Fever was in any way happy with the referees today. Nobody was happy with the referees today because they were shockingly bad. They were shockingly bad. Especially there was one ref that was like way worse than the others. I can't even remember. Like, I'm not gonna look at the referees' names or anything, but they were shocking. They were absolutely shocking. And realistically, we're now looking at an Indiana Fever team who are pretty much done, down and out. And I think the Indiana Fever are just about good enough to hang with this Atlanta Dream team at the best, during their best days. Like, there's no way they can hang with this team when the referees are against them as well.
But was this simply poor refereeing? Or was something much darker at play? The game being rigged. The Fever's uphill battle began long before the opening tip. They entered Game 1 missing 6 players. Caitlin Clark was already sidelined with a season-ending groin injury. Chloe Bibby was out with a knee problem. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson were gone with their own injuries. Ari McDonald was sidelined with a foot issue. And just 24 hours before the game, Tiara Dantas was placed in concussion protocol. That's 6 rotation players wiped out before the series even started. The injury crisis was so severe that when the Fever brought their entire roster to Atlanta, healthy or not, there weren't even enough seats on the bench. Players in street clothes had to sit in a second row behind the actual team, highlighting just how absurd the situation had become. Yet despite all of this, the Fever came out swinging.
Guarded by Howard. They slide it into Boston, center of the lane, turning and finishing. Aaliyah Boston, beautiful move.
They shocked Atlanta early with a 15-6 run. Kelsey Mitchell drilling shots and Aaliyah Boston dominating the paint. For a moment, it looked like Indiana might pull off the impossible.
He's had a few of those last few possessions. Mitchell, catch, fire, and hit from three. What a start. Rebound hits the floor. Hall keeps it alive for Indiana. Mitchell using the screen, dancing around Griner, and able to squeeze it in off window.
But then the referees decided to take control. The whistle began to dictate everything. Lexi Hull was called for a phantom foul on Ryan Howard despite replay showing no contact.
Taps it behind her back. There's no foul there whatsoever.
Yeah, they're going to challenge.
Stephanie White had to burn a challenge in the first quarter just to get justice for her player. Minutes later, Boston was elbowed in the face. No call. Meanwhile, if Indiana so much as breathed on Atlanta, the whistle blew. By the second quarter, White had already used both of her challenges, a nightmare scenario that proved how badly the referees were missing things.
I mean, now granted, people is going to say, well, y'all going to blame it on the referees, but Aaliyah Boston played bad, Leslie Hall played bad. But at the end of the day, bro, the referees definitely altered the outcome of this game. The Indiana Fever was dominating the first half of the basketball game. Clear as day, putting the beast on them. Now, granted, they did blow across the lead, but it was a very competitive game all the way through the first half. Now, I don't know, but we know that this is kind of an old tune because that's just has been the story of their season. They've been falling apart in these second half series, but I'm telling you right now, the referees definitely played a factor in this one. The Indiana Fever, guys, I don't know. They just cannot catch a break with these damn referees today.
Every defensive stand that should have fueled Indiana's momentum instead turned into free throws for Atlanta. Clean contests called as fouls. Physical play by Atlanta ignored completely.
One, you can see Aaliyah Boston guarding Bree Jones, and then you can see Bree Jones goes up with her right hand and she takes her left hand and kind of pushes Aaliyah Boston's hand away. Now they called the whistle right here saying that Aaliyah Boston hit her arm, but as you can see, Bree Jones is the one who's kind of slapping away Aaliyah Boston's arm. Now they challenged this and Indiana Fever was successful with the call. And there was another play. Now this one on Lexi Hall got me riled up because this was early on in the game and this was probably the best defense that Lexi could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexi Hall's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back. Lexi doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time. She has her hands straight up. This is really good defense that Lexi played here. And I was screaming about it on the live stream. I was like, Ryan just tripped over her feet. There wasn't contact there. She absolutely just tripped. If you're gonna call a foul on that little tiny tap on Ryan's arm, then you're gonna have to blow the whistle every 15 seconds in a basketball game. You can't play a basketball game if you can't have any contact at all.
Fans watching at home couldn't believe what they were seeing, and neither could the Fever bench. By the fourth quarter, the tension snapped. Stephanie White erupted after yet another missed call, yelling at the officials before being hit with a technical foul. The arena buzzed with chaos.
She has had enough of what she has seen from the officials here today. Understandable frustration from Stephanie White.
And here's the surreal part. Caitlin Clark, sidelined and unable to play, actually stepped in to calm down her own coach. Even injured, Clark was forced to play peacemaker, as White said what everyone else was already screaming. The refs had stolen the game.
It's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Nobody likes to use their challenges in the first half, especially when they're successful.
Lost in the chaos was an incredible performance from Kelsey Mitchell. She dropped 27 points, a playoff career high, shooting almost 50% from the floor and carrying Indiana's offense possession after possession. Every time the Fever's scoring dried up, Mitchell brought it back to life. But her brilliance was overshadowed because no matter how hard she fought, the officiating tilted the game beyond repair. Think about the contrast. Atlanta had waves of players to rotate in. Indiana had grit, tape, and determination. And yet, when the Fever proved they could hang despite everything, the referees inserted themselves and drained the life from the game, Fans weren't asking if the Fever lost. They were asking if the refs stole it. After the final buzzer, the conversation wasn't about Atlanta's stars. It wasn't about Kelsey Mitchell's brilliance. It was about the officiating. Clips of phantom fouls, missed elbows, and Stephanie White's technical exploded online. The word that kept coming up was rigged. Were the referees protecting Atlanta? Were they trying to keep Clark's Fever out of the spotlight? Here's the truth. Indiana may have lost on the scoreboard, but they didn't fold. Despite missing half their roster and facing lopsided officiating, they kept swinging until the final buzzer. That resilience matters. But the questions won't go away. Were they beaten by the dream or by the referees? So now it's your turn. Was this just incompetence or proof that the WNBA is rigged against Caitlin Clark's Fever? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you're still watching, drop Fever Robbed in the chat to show you're part of the real ones keeping the pressure on. Because one thing is clear, fans won't forget how this game was stolen.
Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Imagine walking into a professional basketball game and seeing only 200 people scattered around the arena. That's not a preseason scrimmage. That was the Chicago Sky versus the New York Liberty.
In terms of the way the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who I've known and I like, the way she has trouble talking about Caitlin Clark, or if she's asked about Caitlin, then she will say, well, Caitlin and Angel. Well, she wasn't asked about Angel, she was asked about Caitlin. This incredible inability to deal with the facts and to state the obvious. It is astounding to me how Kathy Engelbert doesn't come out after the Marina Mabry hit and say that's unacceptable. The refs got it wrong. Okay, should have been kicked out then. You weren't, but now I'm going to kick you out. You're suspended for another game or two. That's just unacceptable behavior for someone who's so important to the league or to any player, right? They can't do that. They seem paralyzed.
And when the WNBA commissioner saw the empty stands, she stormed out in disbelief. But here's the real shocker. This isn't just about one embarrassing game. It's a symptom of a league on the brink of collapse. Because without Caitlin Clark on the floor, the WNBA isn't just losing games, it's losing millions of dollars sponsors and even its credibility.
This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And if you guys were watching my videos during the off season, I was so much more optimistic going into this year because we had so much drama and the media, I felt like, mishandled so many things with the WNBA last season, and specifically with Caitlin Clark and her fan base.
So how did the league end up here? And is this the final warning sign that women's basketball is headed toward disaster? The walkout moment might sound dramatic, but it was really just the tip of the iceberg. What happened at Sky versus Liberty, barely 200 fans in the seats, is a visual reminder of a much bigger crisis. Because when Caitlin Clark isn't on the court, the WNBA simply cannot hold an audience. Let's break this down. When Clark was sidelined with a quad injury in May, and then again with a groin injury, the numbers told the story loud and clear. Nationally televised WNBA viewership dropped by more than 55%. That's not just the Indiana Fever, that's the entire league.
And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fans.
1 week, you've got nearly 2 million people tuning in. The next week, with Clark out, you've got fewer than 850,000. That kind of collapse isn't just unusual, it's unprecedented. Even ticket sales fell off a cliff. Games that once went for hundreds of dollars crashed overnight. Some Fever tickets that sold for $860 suddenly dropped to $250. The average ticket price for Clark's missed games plummeted from over $1,300 to just $80. And those games that were moved into bigger arenas to meet insane demand. They're now half empty, struggling to fill seats that would have been overflowing if Clark were playing. The harsh truth is unavoidable. The WNBA has become completely dependent on one player. Sports writer Christine Brennan summed it up best when she wrote, "One player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears." She compared it to golf without Tiger Woods, or the NBA without Michael Jordan.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, "One player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. A truly remarkable sports story continues."
But here's the difference. Even Tiger and MJ never had this much sway over their entire sport. And yet, despite that level of importance, the league has done almost nothing to protect its biggest star. Clark has been the target of constant cheap shots, hard fouls, and physical intimidation. In fact, in 2024 alone, 5 of the WNBA's 30 egregious fouls happened against her, with the Chicago Sky responsible for a staggering 80% of those. Every time Clark steps on the court, it's like opponents see her as a trophy to knock down. If she reacts, she's criticized for being too combative. If she stays quiet, she's labeled as soft. The WNBA has created a no-win situation for the player who carries its future, and fans see it. That's why so many of them have decided to boycott the league altogether, not just Fever games, but the WNBA as a whole. They don't want to reward a system that refuses to defend the very star they came to see. It's why that Sky vs. Liberty game looked more like a high school gym than a professional event. Empty rows of seats, silent crowds, and a commissioner forced to watch the ugly truth with her own eyes.
I get so frustrated as to why the media and the WNBA just mismanaged the situation the way that they did. Because I do actually think if just think in an alternate world, if last season all these new fans that came in, just think if they were welcomed into the league, if there wasn't people online, if there wasn't media personalities saying that Caitlin Clark fans are ruining the league, this was so much better without them. Like, think if that stuff wasn't happening. Think if the WNBA did a better job and put more resources into getting better referees and tightening up on the rules. Think if the WNBA put more resources into marketing players properly and not trying to put one player down in order to lift up other players. Like, if all of those things, if they were running like a business should be ran, just think of how much differently so many of these new fans who suck, how they would have felt about the WNBA. And like I said, a lot of these new fans not only love players now on the Indiana Fever, but they also love players on every single other team.
The consequences go far beyond attendance. The WNBA was already projected to lose $50 million this season, but with Clark missing games, those losses are ballooning. Merchandise sales have slowed, corporate sponsors are nervous, and the league's credibility is crumbling at the worst possible time. Because at the end of this season, the WNBA enters collective bargaining negotiations. Players are hoping for bigger contracts and more financial security. But how can you convince anyone to invest when your entire product collapses the second one rookie is injured? And here's where the embarrassment becomes a real disaster. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's responsible for more than a quarter of all WNBA economic activity. She is the league's lifeline. And yet, instead of celebrating and protecting her, the WNBA has allowed jealousy and politics to dominate the conversation. Rather than uniting behind her, they've created an atmosphere where opponents foul her hard, officials look the other way, and leadership shrugs it off as just basketball. That kind of negligence doesn't just hurt Clark. It hurts every single player who dreams of bigger salaries, sold-out arenas, and national attention. Because as much as critics may not want to admit it, the league's fate is tied directly to her health and her presence on the court. And the moment she's sidelined, the whole house of cards comes crashing down. The moment the commissioner stormed out wasn't just a personal outburst, it was a symbol of everything wrong with the WNBA right now. Imagine being the leader of a professional league and walking into a game that should be a showcase, Sky versus Liberty, only to find just 200 fans scattered through the arena. That scene wasn't embarrassing because of the number. It was devastating because of what it represented. This is a league unraveling in real time. For years, WNBA executives have promised growth, sustainability, and momentum. But all it took was one player sitting on the sidelines for the illusion to collapse. The walkout showed the brutal reality. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is back to square one. Empty arenas, weak ratings, vanishing sponsors. And here's the tragic part. None of this had to happen. When Clark entered the league, she wasn't arrogant. She was humble, focused on her teammates, and ready to help elevate women's basketball. The WNBA had the chance to protect her, celebrate her, and use her spotlight to grow the game for everyone. Instead, they let politics, jealousy, and neglect destroy the momentum. They built a house of cards, and now it's collapsing in front of the world. Fans aren't blind. They know what's happening. That's why so many are walking away, why so many are boycotting, and why a commissioner storming out of an empty arena feels less like frustration and more like surrender. So here's the real question. Can the WNBA save itself before it's too late? Or has the league already squandered the greatest opportunity it ever had? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you're still watching, drop 200 fans below so we know you're part of the real conversation.